Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. Oh, see the blazing new before us, fa la
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Brent Nicole, and I serve as Vice President on the First Unitarian Board of Directors. While the First Unitarian building is closed because of COVID-19, you may instead contact us through email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. After this service, we will have a hospitality hour hosted on Zoom, normally starting at 11:30 Ottawa time. If you would like to join us on Zoom, you can find information on how to do so from our weekly newsletter, the EUU, or on our website, www.firstunitarianottawa.ca. Here are some announcements. 2 weeks from now, we will be hosting a lay-led special service to give the staff a much-needed time off. It will be hosted on Zoom, and if you would like more information on how to participate, to be an active participant in the service, contact the president, Lisa Sharp, president@firstunitarianottawa.ca. The theme will be Friendship During a Pandemic. That's 2 weeks from today. More information will follow in the EUU. As well, in January, watch the EUU for information about the UU-UNO conference coming up in the spring. It's time to talk to family about participating in the 2021 Intergenerational Spring Seminar that brings together young UUs from across North America. The theme this year is All In for Climate Justice, Food Equity and Sustainability. Keep up to date with more information in the EUU. Registration and planning starts on January 13th. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, however you identify, and whoever you love, today you are part of our spiritual community. Welcome. We hope you come back soon.
Thank you, Brent. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Boulay, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. A few more announcements. While the building is closed, staff are working remotely and are monitoring emails during usual working hours. A staff directory may be found on our website. Brent mentioned our weekly EUU. It is more important than ever to sign up to receive the EUU. Check our Facebook page and our webpage for notices and updates. Our online calendar is as full as ever. Please note that we will be having Christmas Eve services online on December 24th. The 5 p.m. service will be a live Zoom Christmas pageant. The 7:30 service will be a pre-recorded candle lighting service. Please do note that donations are continuing to be collected for the Snowsuit Fund. We will have 2 drop boxes Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. outside the parking lot door at the church for new winter outerwear for children and adults, and 1 box for gently used children's snowsuits, jackets, and snow pants. We're happy to welcome our intern minister, Ian Hill, this morning.
Is returning, even though it is the darkest hour, no one can hold back the dawn. Light is returning, even though it is the darkest hour, no one can hold back the dawn. Light is returning, even though it is the darkest hour, no one can hold
Happy Sunday, everyone. For those who may not know me, my name is Ian Hill, and I serve as the intern minister here at First Unitarian Church of Ottawa. I am so delighted to be one of this week's service leaders. I add that I am especially delighted to be speaking from the chancel inside a First U's building for the very first time. Yes, I see some waving. I just want to thank you all again for inviting me to this congregation and welcoming me so graciously into this community. Before reading today's chalice lighting words, I like to acknowledge that typically this Sunday might have been a service where we lit Hanukkah candles in wonder, joy, and remembrance of a great Jewish military victory and a miraculous supply of oil that burned for 8 days in a holy temple. Traditionally, today might have been a day to celebrate that miracle of light in a time of darkness. But as it so happened, I've already shared a message about light with you all, and this time my spirit wondered, why not celebrate the miracles of darkness? So here I am, speaking to you about the dark of winter solstice, the day with the shortest period of light and the longest period of darkness in all the year. Because I won't be here with you all for the actual solstice, I wanted to share my words before leaving Canada for my holiday. With these things being said, I invite you all to an early welcoming of the upcoming long night. I offer chalice lighting words by Stephanie Noble, titled, "In Celebration of Winter Solstice." Do not be afraid of the darkness. Dark is the rich, fertile earth that cradles the seed, nourishing growth. Dark is the soft night that cradles us to rest. Only in darkness can stars shine across the vastness of space. Only in darkness is the moon's dance so clear. There is mystery woven in the dark, quiet hours. There is magic in the darkness. Do not be afraid. We are born of this magic. It fills our dreams that root, unravel, and reweave themselves in the shelter of deep, dark night. The dark has its own hue, its own resonance, its own breath. It fills our soul not with despair, but with promise. Dark is the gestation of our deep and knowing self. Dark is the cave where we rest and renew our soul. We are born of the darkness, and each night we return to the deep, moist womb of our beginnings. Do not be afraid of the darkness, for in the depth of that very darkness comes a first glimpse of our own light, the pure inner light of love and knowing. As it glows and grows, the darkness illumines. As we shed our light, we shed our fear and revel in the wonder of all that is revealed. So, do not rush the coming of the sun. Do not crave the lengthening of the day. Celebrate the darkness, a time of richness, a time of joy.
Chalice, chalice burning bright, help remind us with your light of how we'd like to live each day with love and truth helping lead the way.
Hi everyone, it's Nao, your Director of Religious Exploration. Hope everyone is doing great on this Sunday. Today I'm sharing with you a story titled Imagine a Night. It's written by Sarah Thompson. Imagine a night. Imagine a night when snow-white sheets grow crisp and cold and someone whispers, "Follow me." Imagine a night when you can't sleep, and so you jump high enough to soar over a quilt of fields and forests. Imagine a night when a whistle echoes from an empty hall and a voice calls, "All aboard, no ticket needed to travel to a place no one has seen." Imagine a night when, listen, you can hear a farmer play his fields to sleep, a lullaby for leaf and stem and dreaming root. Imagine a night when the darkness of meadow and lake feels too quiet and deep, and so you cut and stitch a city from the starry sky. Imagine a night when drifts of moonlight take on shape and form, and you look over your shoulder to find you're not alone. Imagine a night when you might find that gravity doesn't work quite as you expected. Imagine a night when candlelight rises on butterfly wings to greet the lonely stars. Imagine a night when moonlight spills across the water to make a path for the lightest feet. Imagine a night when velvet darkness hangs at every window so that our dreams will never end. Imagine a night when a new partner joins the stately dance of moon around earth and earth around sun. Imagine a night when you take just one last ride. Beneath you, the hills grow steep and your wheels grow wings. Imagine a night when the space between words becomes like the space between trees, wide enough to wander in. Imagine a night when a snowfall tucks you in and the evening star kisses you asleep. Imagine tonight. I hope you all enjoyed this story. Wishing you all a great Sunday.
Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us. Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us. Gray the windy storms, cold upon our cheeks, the wet rain glistens. Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us. Leaping is the fire, golden in the glass, the cider glows like amber. Autumn cold has turned the star wheel, winter is upon us.
a reading of Rebecca Parker's poem, Winter Solstice. Perhaps for a moment, the typewriters will stop clicking, the wheels stop rolling, the computers desist from computing, and a hush will fall over the city. For an instant, in the stillness, the chiming of the celestial spheres will be heard as Earth hangs poised in the crystalline darkness and then gracefully tilts. Let there be a season when holiness is heard and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries. We are not alone. In the universe, there moves a wild one whose gestures alter Earth's axis towards love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos unfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled in a swaying embrace, rocked by the holy night, babes of the universe. Let this be the time we wake to life, like spring wakes in the moment of the winter solstice.
This is the time in the service when we can send our earnest hopes or wishes, which some people call prayers, to the people we care about. I invite you to think about your relationship with this community and how it can support you in the good times and the not so good. Think about your hopes and your hurts and how sharing them with like-minded people can make you feel. In these COVID days, this is harder to do because we don't meet together every Sunday, but I encourage you to reach out to people from this congregation and beyond so that you stay connected and feel less isolated. My spiritual care reading today is courtesy of our custodian, Lori, and it was written by Shauna Hinkling from Calgary, Alberta, on November 19th, 2020. So it's a little out of date, but you will understand when you hear this. 'Twas a month before Christmas, and all through the town, people wore masks that covered their frown. The frown had begun way back in the spring, when a global pandemic changed everything. They called it Corona, but unlike the beer, it didn't bring good times. It didn't bring cheer. Contagious and deadly, the virus spread fast, like a wildfire that starts when fueled by gas. Airplanes were grounded, travel was banned, borders were closed across air, sea, and land. As the world entered lockdown to flatten the curve, the economy halted, and folks lost their verve. From March to July, we rode the first wave. People stayed home, they tried to behave. When summer emerged, the lockdown was lifted, but away from caution, many folks drifted. Now it's November, and cases are spiking. Wave 2 has arrived, much to our disliking. Frontline workers, doctors and nurses, try to save people from riding in hearses. This virus is awful, this COVID-19. There isn't a cure, there is no vaccine. It's true that this year has had plenty of sadness. We'll never forget the year 2020. And just round the corner, the holiday season. But why be merry? Is there even one reason? To decorate the house, to put up the tree when no one will see it, no one but me? But outside my window, the snow gently falls, and I think to myself, let's deck the halls. So I gather the ribbon, the garland and bows. As I play those old carols, my happiness grows. Christmas ain't canceled, and neither is hope. If we lean on each other, I know we can cope. This is the time when we recognize the joys and sorrows that are present in our world and in some people in this congregation. Each joy or sorrow is indicated by placing a stone in the water and allowing the ripples to extend to the universe and share the message far and wide. The first stone today is to celebrate the 72nd anniversary of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. Human Rights Day was December 10th. John Peters Humphrey, a Canadian legal scholar, jurist, human rights advocate, and Unitarian, was most famous as the principal author of the first draft of this important document. A stone to celebrate all the people who are starting to receive the COVID vaccine. A stone of concern for our custodian, Mo, whose father has died. And I place a final stone to recognize all those joys and concerns that sit silent in our hearts. May you have the opportunity to share and gain some comfort or celebration.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still. with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
I begin with the reading from Rainer Maria Rilke, a Bohemian Austrian novelist who is widely recognized as one of the most lyrically intense German language poets. The untitled reading I will share was translated by Anita Burroughs and Joanna Macy. It is the first poem in Lifting Our Voices, readings from the living tradition. You, darkness, of whom we are born, I love you, more than the flame that limits the world to the circle it illumines and excludes all the rest. But darkness embraces everything, shapes and shadows, creatures and me, people and nations, just as we are. Darkness lets me imagine a great presence stirring beside me. I believe in the night. Like the author Rilke, I too believe in the night. I believe in the great presence, the great miracle, the great possibility that stirs beside us, within us, in the darkness. As I mentioned earlier, traditionally this service would be marked as a day to honor the Jewish Festival of Light, an 8-day celebration of the miracle of light in times of darkness. A central component of the holiday is the Hanukkah menorah. The menorah holds 9 candles, 1 for each of the 8 nights, and an additional candle used to light the others. 1 candle is lit on the first night, 2 on the second, 3 on the third, which is tonight. The ritual continues until all 8 candles are lit on the 8th night. Lighting a candle each night is the most common practice of Hanukkah for many Jews. During this time, many Jewish communities around the world look to the miracle of light as a symbol of rededication and a source of hope. Whether one honors Hanukkah or not, many people look to the return of light, to the return of the sun as a promise of new life, a promise of brighter days come spring. But also within the Jewish community, there is a different practice from lighting the menorah each night. Yitzi Hurwitz, a writer for an online publication, wrote an article titled, "To Make the Darkness Itself Shine." In it, he writes, regarding the mitzvah of lighting Chanukah candles, the house of Shammai says, on the first day, you light 8, and from there on, subtract 1 light each day. The house of Shammai reasons that the Chanukah lights are like the bulls that were sacrificed for the holy days of Sukkot. On the first day of Sukkot, 13 bulls were offered, on the second, 12, on the third, 11, and so on. Hurwitz then references a different Jewish community, the House of Hillel, which honors Hanukkah by increasing the candle light in a way that I named as most commonly practiced. Hurwitz writes, quote, "The House of Hillel holds that one should add candlelight because we go up in holiness and not down." Let me say that last part again. One should add candlelight because we go up in holiness and not down. When I first read this article, the line equating light to holiness echoed in my mind. Decreasing light, becoming darker, is to become less holy? I began to think of my last message to this congregation about the significance of light. But as I viewed light in this context, increased light representing increased holiness, I felt there was a message here begging to be addressed. And this is where my thoughts departed from the Jewish tradition of Hanukkah. I started to reflect on commonly used phrases that uphold the notion of light as good and dark as bad. Phrases like light at the end of a dark tunnel and looking on the bright side of things, both painting light and brightness as hope and optimism. I thought about the spiritual teachings that demonize one's inner darkness or shadow self and lead folks to hate parts of our identities. I thought about my birth name, Ebony, the E of Ian, which can be defined as very dark brown or black. I remember how I hated that name for myself, hated that if someone saw my name on an application, they would automatically think that I was black and a woman. I'd internalized a dislike of an exclusively female identity, as well as a desire to not be automatically labeled as black on paper. Conversely, I thought about how happy I was when I learned that my given spiritual name, Nahir, the N of Ian, is Aramaic for divine light or illumination from God. Years later, I questioned why I preferred a name meaning light to the one that means black. All around the world, light is heralded as salvific, the sun of a new day proclaimed as triumphant. On the other hand, the darkness of the longest night is linked to phrases like the dark night of the soul or the darkest moment before dawn. Both of these sayings conjure thoughts of hardship and deep sadness. The dark night of the soul is viewed as a period of utter spiritual desolation, hopelessness, melancholy, disconnection, emptiness, and the list goes on depressingly. Sadness and sufferings are reality in life, but why does darkness have to be associated with those experiences? Rarely is the absence of light portrayed as nourishing, magical, life-giving. In everyday society, less light is made to seem less holy. Darkness, most often referred to in pejorative terms. In an article titled "Reverse Swing, The Perils of Demonizing Darkness," columnist Sadamnad Menon elaborates deeply on the global nature of praising light and condemning dark. He writes, quote, "The metaphoric employment of the light-dark contrast is similar across many cultures. Darkness as negative, evil, sinister, morbid, an agent of death and demonic forces. It segues into the reductive binary of black as satanic and white as angelic. Of course, one does not have to labor the implicit racial pejorative connotations in all of this. Menon goes on to say, this black-white, dark-light binary has been exploited for millennia to construct a universal culture distinguished by its fear of the dark. Darkness has been projected as the space occupied by ghosts, demons, and assorted wretched souls tragically stuck between the earth and the other world. These denizens of the dark are construed as the flip side of positive life forces, which, like the Roman sundials, count only the sunny hours," end quote. Modern culture may have moved away from using sundials, but we still seem to count only the sunny hours as positive. For example, look at the holy day of winter solstice. It is an astronomical phenomenon marking the day with the least hours of daylight and the most hours of darkness in the whole year, and yet, according to many sources, including the Unitarian Universalist Association's website, winter is, quote, traditionally celebrated as a time of expectancy as the longest night leads to the return of the sun, end quote. I hope you see my point of emphasis here, that the defining characteristic of winter solstice is its quality of being the longest period of darkness. And yet, the part that is most traditionally celebrated is the part that leads to the return of light. The astronomical phenomenon of darkness is bypassed. Again, the miracle of light is praised as a sign of rebirth and a source of hope. But why not celebrate the life-giving miracle of darkness? As Stephanie Noble said, dark is the rich, fertile earth that cradles the seed, nourishing growth. Dark is the soft night that cradles us to rest. Only in darkness can stars shine across the vastness of space. Only in darkness is the moon's dance so clear. There is magic in darkness. I remember reading an article in a magazine, a gardening magazine, that spoke of the miraculous usefulness of darkness in, quote, God's great economy. In the article, the reader who lived in the heart of the city with a tiny terrace garden asked, "Why don't my morning glories bloom?" The expert's answer was simple. They can't bloom in the city because there is not enough darkness. They are coded genetically to respond to alternation of light and dark, and the unnatural light of the city prevents the natural development of the plant. Too much brightness interferes with the sequence of seasons. I imagine that the same is true for us humans as it is for plant life. Too much light interferes with the natural development of life. Darkness is necessary for growth. Sure, this may seem obvious to some folks, especially to the many gardeners and food growers who know the importance of both sunshine and dark time. But can you conceptualize what it would mean to actually promote darkness as equally as significant as light? Imagine darkness heralded as holy, the black of night being just as welcomed as the light of day. Dark angels also considered angelic, or even better, there be no binary of dark versus light, black versus white, to represent good and bad. Can you envision a world without the binary of good and bad, black and white, light and dark? I sometimes wonder if this way of categorical thinking is our only way to observe and understand the world. Does light, in its presupposed proximity to whiteness, require a demonization of darkness in order to exist? How might exploring a non-oppositional, non-binary way of celebrating dark and light make it possible for racialized whiteness as a status of privilege to be neutralized? What if each of us could shift the culture of anti-blackness by elevating darkness as good? What if we started reframing less light as a blessing all on its own? Imagine, as the Jewish writer Hurwitz suggested, making the darkness itself shine. Perhaps then society would become less afraid of the dark. Blackness no longer demonized as something to fear, bright white no longer uplifted as the color of holiness, less light on the longest night as moments to honor and praise. Today, may we welcome the coming of the long night without the need to envision the light at the end of winter's tunnel. May we greet the winter solstice as a source of sacred solace and accept the comfort of sun-kissed darkness as a gift. In closing, I leave you with the words from Singing the Living Tradition, hymn number 55, "Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly. And then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me." I pray that the blessed solace be so for all beings this winter, and that the intention of my message be understood and embraced. Amen, amen, ashe, and thank you.
Stillness reigns, the winds are sleeping, all the world is bent on keeping tryst with night, whose wings are sweeping from the west, each ray of light. Dusk, a soft and silken cover over all is seen to hover in its readiness to cover all the drowsy world. Good night. Those who labor long untiring hail this time of rest, desiring strength renewed through sweet retiring. Welcome thoughts of peaceful night, and through spaces real or seeming, find the Eden of their dreaming. Soar to starry ways, redeeming hours of toil and pain. Good night.
This is the time in the service when we usually accept the offering. You may go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how you might keep up with your pledge or make a donation during these times. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of the congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. Now some words for the extinguishing of the chalice from the hymn, Now the Day is Over, by Sabine Baring-Gould. Now the day is over, night is drawing nigh, shadows of the evening steal across the sky. Now the leafless landscape settles in repose, waiting for the quiet of the winter snows. Now as twilight gathers, let us pause a moment and hear all the slowing pulse beats of the waning year. May the season's rhythms, slow and strong and deep, soothe the mind and spirit, lulling us to sleep. Sleep until the rising of another spring keeps the ancient promise fall and winter bring.
my final words, I offer, celebrate the darkness, here and now, a time of richness, a time of joy.